Welcome to everyone, all you YouTube viewers out there. I'm Butley, and I'm here with Patch.
Help! He's been replaced by a robot.
We haven't quite settled on an intro, I don't think.
I don't think we'll ever settle on an intro unless we come up with a really, really killer one.
I'd like to have some kind of standard thing, and then eventually we just stray from that sporadically, but anyway, still finding our rhythm and our niche and our things. As you might remember from last time, we saved the Sybil, and she is the daughter of Nybeth, and her brother, her undead resurrected brother, who's dying again somehow. They sent us on the path to go and kill Nybeth, which is kind of what the Duke sent us to do anyway, so yeah, we're happy to go along and do that. And Nybeth was a dick to us at the start, so we have a grudge.
I don't remember this at all.
Stop. Yeah, we saw Gildas has been... Well, he looked kind of undead the way that Divold was, so that is not good. So we're gonna go and track down him and see if we can save him or liberate him from Nybeth's control or whatever's going on. Maybe he's just angry at the world because he's unhappy with the way he died in the ambush
What
of
alignment
Rhyme.
do you suppose he is?
What alignment do you suppose he is? Oh god. Last episode we got to the point where we were talking about alignment, specifically the D&D style alignments.
I can't even remember why.
Nor can I. I actually couldn't remember that we were talking about alignments. Obviously we are not recording on the same day that we recorded the last episode. It's been a couple of days, a few days, a weekend, I don't know. We were talking about
Yu-Gi-Oh! Season 1.
yeah,
What was that? A while ago now.
I don't even know. How bad is
The
that?
important thing is...
It wasn't even that long, it was only a few days ago. You should have just listened to what we talked about last episode.
The important thing is, we wanted to talk about alignment today.
Right, we needed a whole episode, maybe plus, to just... I don't know, were we going to go through all the alignments and...
Yeah, I think so.
Project
I think-
what we think?
Yeah, I think what we do is we sort of go through the alignments and talk about what we think they are, and what they mean, and where we think we stand on them. You know?
In terms
And
of whether we would be, or what type of person would be, or examples of who might be what? Maybe?
Yeah.
So, okay, yep. So we're just going through some of this Warren Report stuff to touch base and touch up. This is kind of a shorter mission, so I spent 5-10 minutes just looking through some of the text. So just have a quick look through there if you want. Remember that we don't know what happened to Abuna Prancet, our old man, and we learnt that he is technically not our old man because us and Ketchu are actually orphans, at least according to her. So we haven't, we haven't really confronted him, and we haven't learnt how we became his wards, if you know what I mean. And
Yeah.
so that's all stuff. Obviously we fought and killed Oz, so I'm assuming that Ozma, his crazy sister, will not be happy. If she doesn't show up at some point, I'll be disappointed. But we're talking alignments, so let's start with, let me see, a broad description of what we're talking about. Basically the alignment chart, or, I don't know,
Well, it's sort of a spectrum, isn't it?
Yep.
It's about where your character stands morally and, I guess, righteously? I don't know how to say it.
I
but
always
it's
say
sort of-
morally and ethically. So
Yeah,
morals are like things you live by, and ethics are sort of like where you would draw the line on things.
Yeah, and the typical alignment chart, you can sort of think of it like a graph or an axis, something like that. It usually goes from lawful to chaos on chaotic on one. I'm so bad at graphs. What is axes? Thanks. And then good to evil on the other axes. And the point being that you can fit in anywhere along that on sort of a spectrum of how much you want to follow the law and how good and evil you are. And some of the alignments might sound contradictory at first, but you'll find that the concept of obeying the law and doing good is two separate sort of things, to a point where it actually does very well represent sort of the idea of what a person, stands for. It's something that I think needs to be implemented in more RPGs. A lot of RPGs do good and evil, Paragon, Renegade, all that sort of thing.
Right.
And we end up, and it's sort of not very representative of a full sort of ideology. It's just sort of binary at that point, and that doesn't represent people very accurately.
Right. So the difference is, right. Let's put some perspective without talking about the specific categories. Imagine like you're a soldier, and your boss asks you to do something, and you're not sure that it's like a good thing. It's like, oh, that's that prisoner that we're supposed to bring in. Go and stab him. Now, if you're sort of more lawful, even, you'll consider doing it because it's an order and you believe in the law, and you believe that even if it's wrong, you should probably still do it because you would expect your superior to get his comeuppance in a lawful sense. But if you're good, you might not do it because it's the wrong thing to do, and then you might report your boss. Whereas, so you can sort of be lawful and good and bad at the same time. Or you could be chaotic and ignore him and be good or bad and do it or not do it for your own motives.
See, I was thinking the complete opposite. I was assuming that in this situation, who you're bringing in would be a fairly reprehensible person, and your guy has ordered you to kill them because they're a monster, but your orders are to bring them in. So the idea is that you'd be lawful to bring them in as a prisoner and not kill them. But that wouldn't necessarily be any better than if you did kill them. That would just be, the chaotic choice. Because then you are doing a good thing. You're killing an evil person. And that is good. But it's not within the laws of your nation or state or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I guess this is, in part, why this system is, well lauded. It's it's not so rigid, it's very open, not to interpretation, but, it's sort of... It's more like a fantasy element where you've got to project what you think into it. So yeah, maybe open for interpretation.
It depends a lot on context. Your situation could be true if taking them in was to take them in for a trial, to see if they're guilty. Whereas your commander...
That's what I thought, but...
Yeah. See, it's a lot of what is going on, and it really does very fairly reflect in that way.
I like this. Does Cassandra have a face? Also, if you can hear them beeps, that's not happening live. That was happening during the recording. That was probably Patch hassling me.
Yeah, it almost definitely was.
Yeah, I can't tell if Cassandra's just not looking in our direction, or if she has no face. This necromancy is dangerous. Oh dear. What do you think she would... Oh, well, no, we can't do that yet. So, I wonder if we can talk about this story. They're just having a quick chat. They're arguing about who's going to deal with this. It's like we need to save. She says, I've got an artifact from Nybeth that is like a last resort weapon that'll save me and stuff like that. And Cressida runs off to tell Dad that, hey, they're coming. Actually, I don't know if I don't think Cassandra and Cressida are actually Nybeth's family. I think they're a family themselves.
Okay.
And they just follow Nybeth. I don't think Cassandra and Nybeth were partners. Like, these guys aren't related to the Sybil in our party, I don't think. And yes, what you'll find is through this, I guess, side quest, even though it's on the main quest, I'm going to keep taking the Sybil and Devold and also Mirrodin, because I'm never quite sure if there's going to be any text related to they're kind of relevant to the story, so I just decided to keep taking them. Plus, you need a lot of clerics in this, just to exorcism and everything. But this is kind of a cool level. Have we seen much lava and stuff like that?
No, I don't think we have at all.
Adds to the atmosphere that we're climbing towards a volcano. to get to a fortress. It's very RPG-ish or just epic quest-ish. She has necromancy spells, which are always a bit different, which is kind of cool. I wonder if we'll get a necromancer at some point and have a go. I don't know if I've played with necromancers too much, but it'd be fun. Something different. And you might have noticed when we were flicking through Team Preview, just before we get off this completely and go back to that alignment discussion, the Sybil that we picked up, she has level 2 cudgels, which means she actually has a finisher with cudgels. And so she's got the mace instead of like a magic staff, the boulder mace. It's like all the other boulder weapons. It has some magic support, but it's basically a mace, like an attack weapon. So I don't know if that'll come into play, but it's just an option that if we want to have, like a tankier cleric, we could definitely give her like some traits like say Constitution and Fortify and Strengthen, and make her more of like a melee mace that isn't a knight, which would be interesting. Like a frontline cleric casting heals but also hitting people with her mace.
Yeah.
Like she could just absorb damage, because the more damage you take, the quicker your special meter goes up, so you can use your ultimate more often. I haven't really done it much, but it's probably something worth exploring. It's probably just a neat little trick. In my eyes, it's all about just building up different arsenals. So late game, when you get a mission and you're like, oh, I need this, and you're like, I have the perfect person because they can do this. So it's good building a variety of unique characters, I reckon. It's definitely more fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we'll leave on that. We're going to fight this battle. It's kind of fun. Yeah, hope everyone enjoys watching that. We're going to talk about the classes. Do we want to go through them, or how do we want to tackle the... We were going to describe them all a little bit. I think that was the plan. So.
Well, I think... So what I want to do first is give like a rundown of what they are, the 9. Before we go into them on detail, I just wanted to state what they are.
Yeah, sure.
And that's lawful good, neutral good, chaotic good, lawful neutral, true neutral, chaotic neutral, lawful evil, neutral evil, and chaotic evil. And it's sort of grouped that way intentionally, so good is with good and evil is with evil. Because I think that they're more the focal points than the lawful and chaotic.
Yeah, it's more to say, here's good and evil, and here's the different approaches to being good or being evil. Yeah.
And what I wanted to say to do with this is that alignments... Well, this is a personal belief that an alignment isn't quite... like, lawful good isn't lawful or good. It is lawful and good. If a law is evil, then it's not a law that a lawful good character necessarily believes in or follows, because lawful good is being lawful and good. And likewise, a good action should typically also be lawful for them to follow it. They won't commit a crime for good, if it's for good. They will, wait for a situation where it is lawful and good for them to act, basically.
They believe in the law, and they believe if there's something good that needs to be done, the laws in place will give that opportunity to, do whatever, whether it be apprehending someone or solving a problem or...
Yeah, so when I say lawful good, what I'm really saying is it's lawful and good, is what I imagine. So I just wanted to say that before we get into it.
Lawful good is really... yeah.
Well,
we're not going into detail, we'll get to that.
Well, no, that was basically all I had to say, was the grouping and the alignment thing. The and.
And this is where it gets a bit hard, so lawful good is...
Well, I actually think we should start from the other end, because I think that's the easier end to start from.
Okay, maybe that'll get us going.
Well, I mean, chaotic evil, that is the most simple, straightforward character to write. That character does not follow the laws. They do what is self-serving and sometimes just malicious for no purpose other than it is malicious.
Well, they like seeding chaos.
Yeah.
They want to basically convert everyone to their way of thought. So they'll do whatever's nuts to... Yeah.
I mean, the Joker is a prime example. The villain. He's nuts. And he'll use whatever he can to cause as much damage as he can, and he'll do it because it's funny, because it traumatizes people, that sort of thing. He's a great example.
Yeah, he has his own agenda. He's not doing it. Yeah, it might not even further his gains half the time. It's just because he wants this, or he's trying to pursue some goal that maybe everyone else doesn't even understand.
Yeah, and so that's chaotic evil. I mean, there's not that much that goes into that one, because it is just, that's the baddest you get. That is completely irreprehensible. Actions don't need explaining. Commit whatever deeds you want. Typically evil. And then, so I guess neutral evil?
Yep.
And I'd say neutral evil is similar in that they will act very much for themselves. Well,
we should probably... Why don't we hop the other way and talk about lawful evil, and then explain that one, because that's the polar opposite. Like, explain how you can be lawful and evil.
Yeah, well, that's pretty straightforward. If you know that... okay, so lawful evil is you will do things that are wrong, but you will do them within the rights of the law. And what it typically means is that you'll manipulate the law in a way that is favorable to you. You can easily imagine that lawyers are lawful evil. They use technicalities to get out of trouble. They manipulate business practices that, they lure people into bad choices. And they generally scheme and use cleverness, but within the right of the law to commit wrong.
Say you're a profiteering slave trader.
Yeah.
You're doing something that, and maybe it's in the law, probably in the fantasy settings that we're in, most of slaves would be a part of.
Yep.
It would be legal to have slaves. It's kind of morally wrong, but if you're taking the humanity out of it further by just profiteering from it, it's lawful, but it's definitely wrong or evil. So that's a good example of something that would fall into that. So then if we look at
no.
You want to got something to add? I don't mind. We have plenty of time.
No. It was actually for another alignment.
So then we go back to what was it?
Neutral evil.
Neutral evil.
And the idea of neutral evil is that you will do evil, and sometimes it will be chaotic, but sometimes you will use the law to your advantage. It's basically, this is almost the ultimate opportunist. If they see someone vulnerable, they might hurt them, they might take advantage of them, because they want to, that's their evil act, and they see an opportunity. But then if they get caught, they might use everything within the law to bail them out.
Whereas, they don't necessarily seek evil like a chaotic evil person is. And even the lawful evil person is probably inherently trying to, do evil practice. Whereas the neutral is sort of, I'm not like seeking to prove how evil I am. I just sort of.
Well, I mean, I don't think any of them are really seeking to prove how evil they are. Like, a lot of these characters would be...
The chaotic evil person is really bad, and the lawful evil person is sort of just that way inclined, like it kind of oozes out of them because of how they are and what they do. I always felt the neutral sort of option was just, like I said, opportunist.
Yeah, what I think is important to sort of think of is no one really thinks that they're evil. And if they do acknowledge that they are doing evil things, they're typically doing it because they have some sort of better goal at the end. Some sort of, end justifies the means. But alternatively, I would say that there are sometimes evil characters just in that they have no sort of empathy or no ability to sort of understand how other people feel. And, like, the Joker, his whole thing was... he wants to prove... I'm talking about Dark Knight Joker, not the other ones. Sorry. The point of that Joker was to prove that everyone's just as messed up as him. And it just takes one bad day, and everyone anyone can turn evil. Anyone can be a messed up psychopath killer.
Right.
And
to expose all their fears and lack of confidence or whatever else. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not inherently like that is evil, but it's not. Oh, I'm just going to kill a puppy for no reason. It's there was a logic and a reason to his actions. Chaotic evil isn't without reason, and that's generally something that is true for everyone. Is people do things for a good reason. It's just whether or not that reason is good, if you know what I mean.
Yep, I'm with you.
But yeah, so that's evil in about all its aspects.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Let's go into neutral, the middle ground.
So this is definitely, I would say this is the hardest one, but I wanted to save good for last because I like good.
Yeah, I feel like good is probably equally the most relatable and has the most depth and variety to it.
Maybe. I mean, it's very hard to say, which is, because it's easy to relate to good because I like to imagine that all people are good, at least on some inherent level, or at least trying to do better. But yeah, it's very hard to say for sure which is the most interesting of the alignments.
Well, the thing is, as you said, they're not really labels that you append to yourself while you're doing things. They're just labels that people look at your actions and words and they project on you. So, as you say, it's a bit hard to define which is the most interesting. You don't really say you're going to go out there and be this. You just do things and that's what you get. Now in the games that use this kind of system, yeah, it's the other way around, but that's not how you would define it in real life.
Yeah, well, it depends, because...
Well, I don't wake up every day and say I need to be like true neutral. Like, I just do things and someone would say that.
Well, when we get to good, we'll probably cover this point, but for now, let's look at...
We'll go, I reckon we start at lawful neutral.
Okay, so what I imagine someone lawful neutral to be like is, again, a lawyer who has no specific alignment either way. They don't just work for criminals, they just try and win jobs. They don't, try and bail people out of trouble, they're just trying to win their case. Or alternatively, although I guess this might be more chaotic neutral, would be a bounty hunter. Or, say, a Templar who works for the law. And what they're doing might not necessarily be good, because they're killing people. But they're doing it because the law says they can, and there is an opening for them to do that and make a life doing it. So I imagine that's something like a Templar who might kill innocent people on a search for justice. He's not necessarily
devout, he's just doing his job.
Yeah, say someone's done something wrong, and a Templar is trying to find out who did it wrong. So they're going to torture some people. Those people might be innocent, but they're trying to get to a lawful end.
The ends justify the means kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's within the law for them to do so. I don't know, do you have anything else to add there?
No, the neutral ones are hard, and this is, again, just some of it's not, like, the borders aren't clearly drawn. Like I said, it's like, it's more, the way that to assign this kind of thing to a person that it's more like a retrospective. You would see a list of all their achievements, accomplishments, and actions, and then apply it. It's kind of hard to project what anyone would be sort of up front. So anyway, but I don't know. The neutral ones are really tough. And the other thing is that, and Patch sort of said it. Excuse me. The neutral sort of characters would probably go both sides of the fence. They wouldn't be inclined to be evil, they would just do some evil things. They wouldn't be necessarily really good and faithful and and totally morally not challenged. But they would have moments where they have a good heart and they do things because it's good. And the fact that it helps their cause is sort of a bonus.
So did we want to go to the other end, to chaotic neutral now?
Yeah, let's do that.
So this one has often been described as sort of like, I don't know, like a bard, I guess. Sort of a free spirit who they're not held down to anything. I guess you could imagine
really
they'd be...
care, right?
Yeah, sort of like a nihilist, I guess. They're not really good, they're not evil. But the thing is, they're not bound by law. They will do what they want. They're very much the opportunist, like chaotic neutral, neutral evil. Sorry.
But they're not. They're not trying to, like, their chaotic sense isn't like. I guess the difference is a chaotic evil person, like, has a pretty clear goal, and they're being chaotic to, in their own mind, like, further whatever that crazy goal is. I think I thought I might be able to hurt her, but she's not actually undead.
No, she's not.
Whereas a chaotic neutral sort of person, instead, they're not really, there's no like big end goal and why they're, say, not following the law or following the law sporadically. There's no like sinister plot or plan. They're just sort of taking it on a whim, and they do what they think is right at the time, what they think is wrong at the time. They basically just don't care. I'd say they're kind of apathetic. So
yeah. No, I've always seen chaotic neutral as sort of that roving traveler. There might be like a thief or a criminal, usually on the wrong side of the law, is because they are chaotic, but they're not inherently evil. It's sort of like, I guess, maybe a Han Solo's, someone who smuggles and does things that aren't always, good, but generally speaking, they're not one way or the other. They're not good or evil. They're just sort of along the right.
And they probably always do. Han Solo is probably a good example because they probably
Actually, he
always
might be chaotic good, but yeah.
Well, he probably ends up chaotic good, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, this sort of characteristic is they probably end up looked upon as quite bad because the good actions aren't really good enough to earn them a pass for all their bad actions, if you know what I mean.
Well, it can really go either way for them. I think they're definitely just they're probably the most open to interpretation sort of characters.
Yeah, quite flippant.
Yeah.
Yay, bought a mace. Yeah. Stack that cudgel.
And then lastly for neutral is true neutral, which is one of the most odd alignments.
You would think being in the center of the theoretical spectrum or chart or range, this would be super common, but it's really probably one of the rarest.
Yeah, and that's because it's complicated. To use D&D as a point of reference, old D&D, druids were considered true neutral. And what you can understand about druids is they sort of uphold the concepts of nature, and that is, creatures die to be eaten, like creatures hunt to live.
Ooh.
Something must die so that something else must live.
I'm cutting you off.
Well done.
We got a new creature.
Lizard.
We've not had a reptile creature before.
Nope.
I just want to see if I go look at him or if we do it afterwards.
Probably
I didn't
after.
actually plan that. When I was meditating on that guy, I was just like, hey, he's got that other thing, and there's this reptile coming our way. It was kind of done on a whim. So he has a axe. I don't know. That's all.
Don't hit your guy.
I don't know. I was just looking around.
But yeah.
I must look at him properly afterwards. I think, is this the yin-yang comparison on a true neutral?
Sort of. True neutral is about maintaining a balance, but I was saying as a druid, it's sort of like the rules of nature. There is sort of a law in nature where survival of the fittest, but there's also sort of sanctities of nature. Like civilization is typically considered wrong in the eyes of nature, and this specifically applies to druids, but the premise I'm trying to get across is true neutral typically stands for something, and it's about upholding that thing rather than being
the
good
law.
or evil.
Yep.
Yeah, or lawful or chaotic. It's sort of its own place, and it's usually very odd.
I have no idea what I'm doing here. I'm sort of
I don't either.
wondering. Alright. You know what? We might have to hold, because if we go onto the good side of things, we're going to run out of time really quick.
I had a feeling about that as well.
But
And
we're at a
to be
good
honest,
point.
there's a lot to say for good.
Well, like you say, it's probably the thing that we relate. Oh, she used the magic weapon, and it failed.
Womp womp.
And she fell down. Nybeth. I think what we're learning, what they're trying to show with things like that, is Nybeth is kind of shit at what he's trying to do. Like, he's basically not achieved this whole. He's like the create Frankenstein, whatever, you know, create life kind of guy, and he's kind of failing. Like, Diebold was a good subject, but he's dying anyway. Obviously, he's not making like super soldiers because all these, well, these are Necromancer, but all their soldiers are really weak and dying. Whatever that MacGuffin was supposed to be, it didn't work. Like, he's not really had a lot of successes. Here we go. Let's have a look at a hoplite, which is an interesting, brand new class. Obviously, being a lizard, it's like when we get. It's not like when we get the winged folk because they're human. This is actually a reptile class, so it's gonna have different. This is a reptile being. That's gonna have different classes. So it's like hoplites, juggernauts. I think it could still be archers and warriors, but it has some unique classes. So I might have a look at that soon. He's basically just a soldier, and the hoplites are your typical. They're sort of good sword and shield wielders and stuff. It's cool though, I like it. I'm hoping to sort of go down a path that gets us more different varieties. Like, we've kind of been a bit stuck because I haven't heavily stocked up on people with, like, recruit I've had, but you need specific abilities to get other things. Like, we've seen the fairies and, you know, other beasts and stuff, and we haven't really gone after them, so hopefully that's something we can look at, press on in the future before we get into the final chapter and, you know, level up some different people.
Yeah.
Now we are the savior of the dead.
You were the savior of the dead at the start.
I know, but now it has more weight. Because we actually took that reptile that was about to be dead, and we saved him.
That's the only way we save people.
By killing.
Yes.
Yeah. It's terrible. So, this is all winding down anyway, but I hope you guys are interested in that. Obviously, we will go on to the next episode and talk about what good means in the tree of alignment. In what is it? It's all D&D style, built from there and popularized by all the incarnations of that. Anyway, we might wrap that up, and thanks everyone for watching, and we will see you next time.
See you then.
I'm Robot Butley, signing out.